Welcome to the deep dive. You know how this works. We take that huge pile of info, this time it's 2 weeks of really crucial, explosive days of our lives, spoilers, and we boil it down to exactly what you need to know.
That's right. And for these next 10 days, roughly September 17th through the 26th, Salem isn't just facing the usual day-to-day drama. It feels more like, well, a systemic breakdown, almost. We're talking major corporate battles, huge secrets about baby Tesoro, and this wave of emotional turmoil that seems aimed right at the younger generation.
Okay, so our mission today, using the spoilers and drama descriptions you've got, is basically to untangle this whole web. We need to cover the big corporate demands shaking up Demera and Kyriakis,
Right.
the whole mystery around baby Tesoro's parents and the fight to adopt him, and then how all these adult lies and schemes are impacting, the teenagers in Salem.
Exactly. We've basically broken it down into 3 main areas to help guide you through it all. First, that corporate warfare stuff, the demands, and the fallout from that forgery we've been hearing about. Second, the baby Tesoro story. The DNA test drama, who wants to adopt him, the emotional weight behind it all.
Okay.
And finally, number 3, we'll dig into how all this deception is messing with relationships, especially for the younger folks, and frankly, messing with their heads.
Sounds like a really intense 10 days ahead. Let's dive right in at the top then, where the money meets the madness. It seems like we're really getting into a new chapter of the Demera versus Kyriakis fight, and it's all pivoting around Tony Demera making some huge plays. #TechTechI, corporate warfare and the forgery fallout, Titan versus Demera.
Oh, it's incredibly bold, maybe even reckless, you could say. On Friday, September 19th, Tony doesn't just suggest a deal. No, he lays down an ultimatum. He tells Xander Cook and Philip Kyriakis straight up, hand over both companies, Titan and Demera.
Wow, both.
Both. It's this massive power grab. He wants to seize the Kyriakis legacy, Titan, and at the same time make sure the Demera name, the real Demera name in his eyes, is back under, let's say, proper family control.
That is. Yeah, that's definitely an all-or-nothing kind of move. But looking at the sources, there seems to be a bit of a problem with his plan. Like, his main piece of leverage, that recording Gabi Hernandez made, it might not be enough.
Exactly. That's the leverage problem. Tony's acting tough, but legally. He's on shaky ground. We're hearing that Gabby's recording, while maybe damaging reputationally, probably isn't solid enough proof to win in court.
So why demand everything if the evidence is weak?
Well, this is where it shifts, I think. It's less about a legal win and more about psychological warfare. That's Tony's specialty, isn't it?
True.
He knows the recording might not hold up under scrutiny. Maybe there are issues with how it was obtained, chain of custody, or maybe it doesn't fully capture the context, especially regarding Philip's earlier attack on Xander, the real one. But Tony doesn't necessarily need a court victory.
It just needs to scare them.
Precisely. He needs to make the Demera board nervous, threaten Philip's already shaky reputation. He's banking on them wanting to avoid a messy public court battle.
So it's a strategy built on fear and aiming for an out-of-court settlement. He leverages the threat of bad publicity, the cost, the potential damage to Titan's stock, just to force their hand, especially Philip, who can't afford another huge corporate scandal.
You hit the nail on the head. Tony knows Philip and Xander are desperate to hold on to what they see as rightfully theirs. By demanding the impossible, both companies, he forces them into a negotiation where they'll have to give up something.
And the implication for them is huge. What will they do to protect Titan and their inheritance?
That's the dangerous part. This kind of pressure, it could push them into doing something equally shady. Maybe destroying evidence, maybe creating their own false narrative. Tony's move could essentially trap them in a cycle of doing wrong just to stay afloat.
And speaking of doing wrong, this immediately brings us back to the forgery. The whole reason this is even possible. Tony's demands seem to be the thing that pushes Kate Roberts over the edge.
Right. On Thursday, September 18th, things get heated. Kate apparently interrupts Tony and Anna Demera having a nice, quiet evening, and she is absolutely furious.
Livid, the sources say.
Livid over that stunt Tony pulled at the press conference, the one designed to humiliate Philip and shake things up at Titan.
But the delicious irony here, the real drama, is that Kate's outrage is masking her own massive secret. She's railing against Tony's dirty tricks when she's the one who engineered the lie that set this whole thing in motion.
Exactly. The spoilers confirm it. Kate knows all about the forged letter because she helped make it. She didn't just know, she actively took over the forgery project after she managed to get Vivian Alamein out of the way.
So she sees this as protecting Philip, protecting Titan, protecting her family's interests.
Yeah, and she's willing to break laws, cross ethical lines, whatever it takes.
Which makes that confrontation incredible. The forger confronting the man exploiting the forgery.
Well,
I wonder, do you think Tony knows? Does he hint that he knows Kate was involved?
that's some strong speculation in the sources. If Tony does know, or even just strongly suspects, it completely flips the script. Suddenly, it's not just about corporate maneuvering, it's potential blackmail hanging over Kate's head.
Which gives him leverage against her, not just Philip.
Right, and we see the fallout almost immediately. Anna DiMera steps in later, around the week of September 22nd. She apparently warns Kate, basically tells her to back off, stay away from Tony.
Anna sees how desperate Kate is.
Yeah, Anna knows Kate will do anything to protect Philip and Titan, and she probably fears Kate's capacity for causing chaos could end up hurting Tony. It's a clear signal. Kate's dangerous right now.
Wow. Okay, the layers of deceit here are just deep. And to manage all this corporate maneuvering, Tony might need some specialized help, tech help, which brings in Theo Carver.
Yeah, this is an interesting angle developing the week of September 22nd. Theo, he's the computer whiz of the family, and it looks like Uncle Tony is trying to pull him into this DiMera family mess.
How so?
Well, the speculation is pretty direct. Tony needs an edge in this Titan DiMera deal, and he might be asking Theo to do some, let's call it sketchy hacking.
Unauthorized access, digging up dirt, manipulating data. Yeah.
Could be any of that. Things that cross the line into corporate espionage. Tony might be using those family ties to get Theo to do things he normally wouldn't.
Which is fascinating because Theo's generally presented as more morally grounded, right? And his father, Abe Carver.
Exactly. Abe is known for his integrity. The sources are pretty clear. Abe would absolutely not approve of Theo getting involved in this kind of shady stuff for Tony.
So it sets up a potential conflict there. Uncle Tony pushing for power, Dad Abe standing for principles, and Theo caught right in the middle.
And maybe adding another layer, the sources hint Theo's personal life might be getting complicated too. Something about a possible spark with Ariana Horton.
Ariana. She seems drawn to complex situations.
Right. So Theo could be navigating this moral minefield with Tony and dealing with a potentially tricky new relationship at the same time.
The common thread is definitely deception, isn't it? Deception in business, deception within the family.
And it always seems to trickle down, affecting the next generation. It shows how that toxic ambition at the top can really corrupt things further down the line.
Well, speaking of things trickling down and secrets causing damage, let's shift focus from the corporate suites to something much more personal, but just as explosive. The Baby Tesoro situation.
Right. This has been hanging over Salem for a while now. Who is Baby Tesoro's father? The big reveal feels imminent, like it's finally going to answer whether Tate Black is the dad or not.
And the key step towards finding out involves, well, it involves breaking some pretty serious rules, doesn't it? A secret DNA test.
A very risky one. Happening around Wednesday, September 17th. Steve Johnson is the one pushing for it. He goes to Kayla, his wife, and asks her for a huge favor. Run a DNA test on Tesoro.
Using a sample that Ray Fernandez somehow got.
Apparently, yes. Rafe managed to get a swab from the baby. But here's the kicker. Asking Kayla to run this test puts her job in serious jeopardy.
Why now specifically?
Because E.J. DiMera is basically running the hospital finances with an iron fist. He's watching the budget like a hawk. The sources stress that he'd likely scrutinize every single expensive test run through the lab.
Especially something like a DNA paternity test.
Exactly. It's costly, and there's no obvious medical reason for the hospital to be doing it for this baby. If EJ finds out Kayla ran an unauthorized, expensive test off the books,
she could be fired instantly, especially by EJ.
No question. So Steve is asking Kayla to risk her entire career, potentially facing EJ's wrath, all to find out the truth about this baby's parentage. It shows how invested they are, how much they feel this needs to be resolved for everyone's sake.
The stakes are incredibly high on the professional side. And then you have the emotional side with the people who want to adopt Tesoro.
Oh, absolutely. On Thursday, September 18th, we see Javi Hernandez and Leo Stark. They're really worried. They want to adopt Tesoro so badly, but they know, realistically, it's a long shot.
A long shot given their histories.
Probably. Their pasts are complicated and adoption processes can be grueling, but there's something deeper driving Javi, isn't there? The sources bring up his tragic backstory.
Right, the death of his daughter.
Yeah, his daughter died in that horrific hot car incident. When you remember that, their desire to adopt Tesoro isn't just about wanting a child. It feels like like a desperate need for healing, maybe a second chance at fatherhood, a way to process that immense grief.
It had so much weight to their story. They're coming at this from a place of profound loss and hope for redemption.
It really does, and it makes the contrast with another potential adopter even more striking. Also on Thursday, Chanel Dupree decides she wants to adopt baby Tesoro.
Chanel. Yeah.
She goes to her mom, Paulina Price, asking for help to make it happen.
And here comes the classic soap opera twist.
The massive dramatic irony. Chanel has absolutely no idea that baby Tesoro is actually Sophia Choi's child.
Sophia Choi. Wait, the same baby Chanel wanted to adopt before all this came out.
Very same one. It's an incredible setup. Chanel's pursuing this adoption, completely unaware of the baby's true identity and connection to her own past desires. When that truth comes out, well, you can imagine the explosion.
Wow. So you've got Javi and Leo driven by grief and hope. You've got Chanel driven by perhaps more immediate maternal feelings, but totally blind to the identity bombshell.
And somewhere out there are the biological parents, whose secret is about to blow up. Resolving the paternity isn't just going to answer one question. It's going to throw this entire adoption mess into total chaos, affecting at least 3 different potential families.
It really is a tangled web. The truth about Tesoro is set to shake things up for so many people.
And speaking of secrets and instability, let's look at how this is playing out with the younger generation. It seems like manipulation and lies are causing just as much turmoil there. #tag3. Relationships, manipulation, and teenage turmoil.
Yeah, that theme of living a lie, a really damaging one, it cuts right through the Xander and Sarah relationship right now, even as she's trying to make amends.
Okay, so on Wednesday, September 17th, Sarah is asking Xander for forgiveness.
She is, and the sources really highlight the painful irony. Sarah feels incredibly guilty because she accused Xander of attacking Philip Kiriakis.
Which he actually did. Yeah. And he's still lying to her about it. So she's apologizing for being right, and he's accepting her apology while hiding this massive betrayal.
That's rough. Their whole relationship is built on this shaky foundation right now.
Completely unstable. Every moment of connection is sort of poisoned by this huge secret that only Xander fully understands the weight of.
And we know how things work in Salem. Secrets don't stay buried.
Never. The sources are pretty clear. The fallout is coming. When Sarah eventually finds out the truth about Xander attacking Philip, she is going to be absolutely furious. That guilt she feels now, it's going to flip into pure rage and betrayal.
It just hammers home that point again.
Yeah.
Everything comes out eventually, whether it's a corporate crime or a physical assault.
And that pattern of deception definitely filters down to the teens. Especially in this Tate-Holly-Sophia mess, Tate Black is clearly angry with Holly Jonas.
Right.
So instead of talking it out, he goes down a really manipulative path. On Thursday, September 18th, he decides to try a new tactic with Sophia Choi. A more hands-on approach, as the sources put it.
Hands-on. Meaning
He's trying to seduce information out of her. He's using her.
using her to get intel on Holly? Or just to make Holly jealous?
Probably both. He wants details about what Holly's been up to, maybe find something he can use against her, or maybe just provoke a reaction from Holly by getting close to Sophia.
How does he set this up?
The spoilers describe it pretty clearly. He gets Sophia over to his dorm room, supposedly to watch a movie for a class.
Classic excuse.
Right, and that pretense apparently falls apart pretty quickly. They end up making out. Tate's basically trying to use intimacy, or the appearance of it, as a tool to get what he wants. It's an intelligence-gathering mission disguised as a hookup.
And naturally, someone sees them.
Of course. Ariana Horton spots Sophia leaving Tate's room looking, quote, kind of rumpled.
Oh, dear.
And Sophia immediately panics, telling Ariana not to tell Holly. She's afraid Holly will go nuts.
Which puts Ariana in a tough spot, because wasn't she advising Holly about Tate?
Exactly. Ariana is usually the sensible one. And she had apparently told Holly, maybe just recently, to try and stick with Kate despite that fight they had at the bookstore.
But that was before she saw Sophia sneaking out of his room.
Right. Now, Ariana knows Tate might be playing games. Does she tell Holly? Does she keep Sophia's secret? It's a classic teen drama dilemma, testing her loyalty.
And it seems like Sophia isn't just going to wait around for Holly to find out. She decides to escalate things.
Dramatically, Sophia decides to play dirty. Really dirty.
How so?
The sources confirm something pretty shocking coming up. Sophia's going to sneak into Holly's dorm room to
Okay.
take indecent pictures of her.
Seriously?
Seriously, this isn't just petty rivalry anymore. It's a huge violation, a deliberate attempt to potentially ruin Holly's reputation using technology. It's like the teenage version of what Tony might be doing with Theo using tech for sabotage.
That's awful. It really shows how toxic things have gotten. Shifting gears slightly, but still on relationships and secrets, what's happening with Chad DiMera?
Well, Chad's in a bit of a bind, too. On Wednesday, September 17th, he has this nice, seemingly sweet heart-to-heart with his son, Thomas.
Okay.
And Thomas asks him straight up, Daddy Chad, do you like Kat Green as a girlfriend?
Kids cut right to the chase, don't they?
They do, but it puts Chad on the spot. He's apparently hesitant to really come clean about his feelings or the status of his relationship with Kat.
Why the hesitation?
The main reason seems to be Julie Williams. He's worried about the backlash he'll get from her if he makes things official with Kat.
Julie. The Horton family matriarch and moral compass?
Exactly. If Julie disapproves of Kat, it's not just her personal opinion. It's like a public judgment that Chad is bringing someone scandalous or unworthy into the Horton sphere. He's caught between his personal life and those family expectations.
Meanwhile, Kat Green herself is juggling her own secrets, right?
Yeah.
She's finding common ground with E.J. DiMera.
Yeah, apparently they connect, maybe at the office. They bond over the fact that they both care about Chad, and also that a lot of people in Salem really don't like either of them.
Misery loves company. Or maybe they just like the same kind of pie, is the sources joke.
Could be. But there's a much bigger agenda for Kat here. This isn't just about finding a kindred spirit in unpopularity.
Right, she's working for the ISA.
Correct. Her real mission is to gather intel. She wants information the ISA can use against EJ and Weinrichek and their, quote, dastardly hospital plan.
Okay, dastardly hospital plan. What do we think that involves? Messing with finances?
Yeah.
Prioritizing profit?
Seems likely. Maybe manipulating budgets for DiMera's benefit, cutting corners on patient care, perhaps even some kind of shady land deal related to the hospital. Kat sees this connection with EJ as an opportunity.
An opportunity to get close, build trust.
And gather the evidence needed to expose whatever scheme they're cooking up. She's using that personal connection for espionage.
It really drives home that Salem rule. Never trust anyone, especially if they seem friendly and maybe offer you dessert. Okay, let's move into our final section. This covers some big emotional shifts, old wounds getting reopened, and some significant character exits on the horizon. #tag Wyforevics. Emotional pivots, lingering grudges, and character exits.
Yeah, things are really intensifying for the Black family, and it's all circling around Rachel Black. On Wednesday, September 17th, Marlena Evans, ever the perceptive psychiatrist, pulls Brady aside.
And gives him a warning.
A serious one. She tells him he needs to protect Rachel.
But Brady's operating under a complete misunderstanding, isn't he? He thinks he did the right thing, pushing for Kristen DiMera to get the maximum sentence.
Tragically, yes. He has no idea Kristen is covering for Rachel, that Rachel is the one who actually committed the crime he thinks Kristen did.
So Marlena's concern isn't about the legal side.
No, not at all. It's purely psychological. Marlena sees the signs. She senses Rachel is in serious psychological danger. Maybe it's repressed memory, maybe it's the guilt, the pressure of the secret her mother is keeping for her. Marlena's worried about an imminent breakdown.
A catastrophic emotional collapse, as the sources put it. She sees the trauma building up.
Exactly. And maybe sensing this turmoil, or perhaps just needing a change himself, Brady seems to be thinking about his own path. On Friday, September 19th, there's talk of him considering a career change.
What's he thinking of doing?
He's apparently considering pivoting back to working with Steve Johnson at Black Patch Investigations.
Back to detective work. That would put him closer to the action, maybe give him the tools to figure out what's really going on with Kristen and Rachel.
Could be, but the immediate focus remains Rachel. The sources strongly suggest we're on a countdown. Rachel is heading towards lashing out, having a full meltdown.
And this isn't just a dramatic moment, it's leading somewhere specific.
Yes, this psychological spiral is apparently the story mechanism for a major character exit. Rachel's breakdown is going to put someone else's life at risk, and the consequence is that she'll be written off the show soon.
Sent away somewhere.
Likely to a facility, maybe like Baby Bayview, somewhere, for specialized help. This coincides with the actress, Alice Halsey, leaving the show to work on the Little House on the Prairie project.
It's a sad storyline, but it really underscores that theme again. The consequences of adult lies falling squarely on the child. Kristen's cover-up is ultimately what triggers the breakdown that forces Rachel off screen.
The cost of the lie is literally the child's mental health and presence in the family. It's heavy stuff.
Definitely. Now let's talk about another kind of consequence, revisiting past trauma. The J.J. Devereaux and Theo Carver situation.
Right, this is an old wound being poked at. On Friday, September 19th, Theo Carver talks to Jada Hunter about J.J. Devereaux, and he gives her a warning about him.
A warning? This goes back years, doesn't it? To when J.J. shot Theo.
Exactly. Back when J.J. was just a rookie cop, he shot Theo, who, as we know, is on the autism spectrum. When Theo ran from him during a tense situation, it was a huge storyline.
And although J.J. was eventually forgiven, the sources say there's still tension.
Apparently so. Theo still seems uncomfortable around J.J. It feels like this long-buried, supposedly resolved incident is being deliberately turned back up, brought back into play for current drama.
Why now? Is it just J.J. being back in law enforcement? Or maybe connected to Theo's potential involvement with Tony's shady dealings?
Could be both. If Theo is doing hacking for Tony and J.J. is working a case related to it, their paths could cross in a really volatile way, especially with this history hanging over them.
And J.J. himself seems to be free to deal with his past. He apologizes to Gabi Hernandez.
Yeah, on the same day he has this interaction, or Jada hears about him from Theo, he apologizes to Gabi. Maybe the run-in with Theo, or just the reminder of that past, prompts him to try and make amends elsewhere. Or maybe it's fallout from Kristen's confession somehow rippling outwards.
It shows how trauma lingers in Salem, doesn't it? It never really goes away. It just waits for something to stir it up again.
Absolutely. And finally, just to round things out, a quick look at some other relationships hitting rough patches. Alex Kyriakis and Stephanie Johnson.
Yeah, they seem to be struggling this week, going from talking about moving in together to Alex storming out. What's the trigger?
It seems to be the whole mess at Titan. Steve, Stephanie's father, is investigating the merger, which puts Alex in an awkward spot. And Alex apparently lets Xander's anger and frustration about the corporate battle influence him.
So he takes it out on Stephanie.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
He's ungracious, unreasonable. It shows how that corporate toxicity infects everything, even relationships that seem stable. Alex is probably feeling pressure to align with Xander and the Kyriakis side, even if it hurts Stephanie.
Loyalty versus love. Classic conflict. And what about Belle and Sean? Any hope there?
Well, the sources say they might be getting posy again. There are hints of a possible reconciliation for Sean Brady and Belle Black.
But there's always a but.
There's always a but. The sources heavily suggest Belle is likely not over EJ. That lingering connection, that attraction to the drama EJ brings, keeps any potential reunion with Sean very fragile.
And with EJ currently involved in this dastardly hospital plan with Gwen, Belle's world is never going to be completely separate from his orbit, is it? Professionally or personally?
Not a chance.
Yeah.
The lines between business, romance, crime, they're hopelessly blurred for pretty much everyone in Salem. #outro.
Wow. Okay, that was an incredibly detailed dive into what looks like 2 incredibly chaotic weeks in Salem. We've really tried to synthesize everything, showing how deception is just operating at every single level.
Yeah, we've tracked it all the way from the top, the corporate games with Tony's demands and Kate's forgery, down through the desperate search for truth about baby Tesora's parents, and right into the heart of the teenage world with Sophia's betrayal of Holly and Rachel's looming crisis.
It paints a picture of a place where secrets are currency, but they always come with a hefty price tag.
Absolutely. And what really seems to stand out, connecting all these threads, is how the manipulations of the adults create the blueprint, almost, for the bad behavior and emotional distress we see in the younger character.
Yeah, the corporate backstabbing, the hacking attempts.
Yeah.
It's mirrored in things like Sophia taking those pictures.
Which leads us right into our final thought, something for you to really chew on as you watch all this unfold. We've seen this pattern play out time and again. So consider this. How does this relentless cycle of adult ambition and sabotage, Tony demanding companies, Kate forging documents, how does that directly create the kind of psychological pressure cooker that leads to the lashing out, the manipulation, the breakdowns we're seeing in characters like Rachel Black?
Is it inevitable? Does the toxic ambition of Salem's powerful families basically guarantee emotional damage for their kids down the line?
A heavy question, for sure. It really gets to the heart of the true cost of power and secrets in this town.
It certainly does. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back next time to unpack whatever chaos comes next.